In North Dakota, about an hour south of the capital Bismarck, and 25 to 50 demonstrators remain at the pipeline. Protesters were told to leave. They didn't. Following this story is Ryan Burrow with ABC News. Good morning, Ryan.
I got an update on that late yesterday afternoon. The law enforcement officials, they combine county as well as state officials. There were some federal officials involved in this, too. We don't know if they actually had boots on the ground. We're able to completely clear the camp of all the protesters. There were several arrests. In fact, the last total that was given to the media was 46 in total. These are the people who hung out and continued to hang out after the encampment was closed at 2 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday. Some people continued to hang out and stick around, and they were arrested, many of them arrested peacefully, just kind of going limp and wanting to be pulled out physically. Some of them were actually veterans who have been demonstrating out there. But the good news is no officers were injured, no protesters were injured in any of this, and as of right now, the encampment is clear of people, and now the work gets underway of clearing the debris, which could take, get this, a month because of just all of the stuff that was left behind.
The protesters have been going on for years up there. So is this the final straw, which will now, once they clear this debris, they're talking about the pipeline is ready to start flowing here shortly, right?
Yeah, in fact, the construction started, I believe it was, we're talking like 10 days, maybe we're going on 2 weeks now. As soon as they got the thumbs up on the easement, they started going. They already had the inside hole and the outside hole drilled, so it was just a matter of kind of getting the pipeline through. They say it could take just a couple of weeks before that pipeline is in there, and oil could be flowing as soon as March 6th. Now, still battles going on in court, federal court, to discuss the easement that was granted. There are some concerns, obviously, that pipe that runs underneath the water source, which the two tribes there say could impact water and their spiritual or their rituals, I should say. And so some of that still has to get hammered out in court. But if you ask the company that's constructing it, they're ready to go, and they could have this thing operational very, very soon.
We should make mention that the encampment, or one of the things you're talking about, is sort of a Missouri River reservoir. So this does impact the Missouri somewhat, which flows right through St. Louis.
Well, yeah, and that's what the tribe's concern is. Look, this doesn't just impact us. This could impact up to 17 million people who draw water from this source. If this pipe were to burst and that oil to leak into the water, we got big problems on our hands. And that's one of the arguments they've been making. They've been trying to get the company to come forward with their plans and actually what is going underground so that they can see that there are maybe safety measures put in place, various construction, precautions put in place to prevent any kind of leakage. But the company itself says we don't want to release that information because we don't want the bad guys to get at it, whether it be terrorists or even protesters for that matter, to understand what's going on underneath the water that could cause some problems.
Ryan, we've seen some pictures and some video of some fires. Where did those fires come from?
So when the encampment was being closed, many of the people who were holding out and staying there set fire to the tents that remained, and there are hundreds of them scattered across this encampment. They say it was ceremonial. There was rituals involved in destroying these tents. We are aware that 2 children were actually injured in some of these burns. A 7-year-old and a 17-year-old actually had to be taken to hospitals. We don't know the extent of their injuries, but for the most part, it was symbolic, a way of them kind of saying their final goodbyes, I guess. Law enforcement just kind of let them burn it out. But
the protesters themselves started that with those fires.
Yeah, exactly. And some of the people who were thinking about holding out, because a lot of people did leave at the time of the deadline, but you're burning up the remaining homes, so they knew the end was near, obviously, because if you're going to burn up the place you've been staying in for the last few weeks or months, then obviously you have no intention of going back.
Yeah, Ryan Burrow, ABC News correspondent. Ryan, thanks for checking in.
All right, take care.
7:10, Big